Hey everyone, it's Zach with Palantir Research. I don't want to believe it myself, but some employees from Palantir or former employees are saying they just can't sell Palantir products. Should you be concerned as an investor hearing this from insiders? And honestly, I was shocked myself to see this, but let me show you where I found this and we can decide if we should even believe this and at what scale. And you need to let me know your thoughts on this below because I think any actual testimonies that can verify this is very scary for investors. Remember, Palantir did have a recent layoff where they were slowing down on increasing headcount. They cut 2% of their staff at 75 people, which is not that much actually, but still a distressing event for those 75 people. So even if half were to hop on, that can be 30 bad reviews there trying to tarnish the company, especially since they could do it anonymously. Take these with a grain of salt, but pay attention to the common themes. So where did these bombshell allegations come from? Well, it's self-reported Glassdoor reviews. So jumping to their page, and this is all available for those publicly who want to dig really deep themselves, but overall it's surprisingly really good. Out of 4.1 stars out of 5 with a 78% recommendation for a friend and 70% approving of the CEO. For a company of this size, this is actually very respectable, and this is based off 611 reviews with 328 ratings for Alex Carp. So off the bat, honestly, it's amazing, but we all want to know those outliers. Like even Amazon shopping for myself, I still want to see the in-depth reviews, if they're good or bad, to get that detailed experience ahead of time. So what I did to try to get a better picture of today for Palantir is really only look at the more recent reviews in 2023, and this video is highlighting those with a lot of specific info. So even if I'm not showing all the other ones, there's plenty of 5-star reviews simply saying they're great, maybe with minor critiques. Now starting with a negative review, kind of at 2 stars, we have a former employee, but they wrote this anonymously on April 3, 2023. Unfortunately, we don't know the position of this person, so they do like Dr. Carp actually, but do not recommend and do not like the business outlook. So that's already concerning coming from an insider. This was a common theme though, where they like working at Palantir and the people are great and smart, but leadership not being aligned or overcompensated is the con that I've seen a lot put. So they go into more detail on how they waste time working on projects, but ultimately have to end up changing direction and losing all that work essentially. And this was causing great and experienced individuals to leave Palantir. So overall, I'm not surprised at this kind of con, and it happens to most companies actually as they go bigger and scale up. You'll always see these cases of people who don't deserve it maybe from their perspective or truly don't for those promotions. And inefficiency does happen everywhere when it comes to politics and getting your agenda out and transforming to a company of a different culture. If this is systematic though, that's a whole other issue and can bring a slow death to a company, so something to be aware of, but not ultra concerning at the moment today for myself. Next, we have a positive review at 4 stars from April 1st, 2023, and this person is a deployment strategist. The pros, pretty typical. You can grow your career here and work with great people, but the con is skewed work-life balance. So as an employee, yeah, that sucks, but I get it. As a shareholder though, you know, people are getting stuff done, so that's nice to hear. But I brought up this review because he said the day-to-day is like management consulting. So me and my wife have experience in consulting and have dealt with the politics and also cutthroat environment where people are working hard to get ahead of others and possibly step on and over people. So that's not my own style. Now, I don't think this review has any bearings on Palantir as a whole company being like a consulting firm, not really as we've seen in the financials with growing margins and gross profit with their expenses growing at a slower rate than their revenue. But still just wanted to note this for folks trying to make that argument they're a consulting firm rather than a SaaS company. Maybe culture-wise they still are operating that way, but financially they're closer to a SaaS tech company. Now onto a juicy one. Surprisingly, this is a 3-star review from a current employee on March 17, 2023 in sales. So they start out saying they got the best in industry product, nice to hear, which I like to see a salesperson believe in the product they are selling, which helps make that case much better and pulls over to clients, but the environment to sell it is not the most efficient, they say. Now, am I surprised? Probably not, as culturally and historically, Palantir didn't have a sales team. Dr. Carp was the main salesman, and now they're learning to scale and figure that out. Hopefully this fixes over time, but specifically this review says leadership, structure, and strategy are weak or non-existent. Also adding to the stress is that the company and product are unknown to the market, which I'm assuming is for the commercial side. And they say they have aggressive sales goal, which I'm happy to hear as a shareholder, but some realism needs to play a part, and there is inconsistency consistency across the teams they mention. And these are commission-based, as they noted, but the incentive structures put pod leaders in the position of helping and possibly stealing commissions from the regular salespeople. Overall, this creates a distrustful environment, and for myself, I'd say having a sales leader who can do that really demotivates the salespeople, or at least creates an environment where you don't work together, and people try to do it all themselves and possibly lose the deal altogether. Hopefully this improves over time. Now let's look at this nice 5-star review, but they really go into detail on the pros of Palantir. Basically, they also work in sales and put this on March 16, 2023 with a green check mark for all categories. Basically, this is the opposite of the last review where the sales structure stinks to it was great in this one. They said onboarding was great and surrounded by the best engineers and salespeople to truly solve their customers' problems and bring value. They also note their experience with the company's transitions focused to commercial sales, but they say it's much more collaborative due to the size and being able to create real long-term lasting relationships with these customers. So I don't know what to think here, but with any big companies, there are a lot of different experiences with both possibly being right at the same time. Hopefully, this kind of experience becomes the majority and really motivates the employees feeling empowered. And to note their cons, which a lot of investors took into account when hearing about their Salesforce ramp up, Foundry is a very complicated product to fully understand and sell, and being able to present that in a digestible manner to potential clients is challenging and really takes a good salesperson and team to thrive at Palantir. Now onto the juiciest negative reviews, and I actually put two together for this one because there are actually similarities here. Maybe it's the same person trolling or it's truly systematic, but looking at them, they're both 1-star reviews and submitted on March 14, 2023 and January 22, 2023 from sales. This was really recent and titled "Do Not Take This Sales Job" for the latest one. But they both have the common themes as the other reviews' positive ones, same pros of amazing engineers, always great to hear, despite the negative review. But the cons need to be broken down a bit. On the first bad review, first they talk about the compensation plan, accusing Palantir of basically ripping off their employees, saying 75% of the sales teams are not closing deals. I don't know if this means select individuals are thriving, or maybe just isn't enough business, or the product can't be sold. We don't know that, but that is an alarming estimate to hear from someone. I'm not in sales though myself, but if anyone watching has typical metrics like this around sales, maybe it is normal for there to be a winner-takes-all environment, or maybe not. Just let me know down below. And on top of that, they say leadership doesn't even want to pay you if you close the sales. That's very concerning as well, which is the whole motivating factor. Then communication-wise, they said updates in the compensation plan beginning of 2023, but salespeople don't know about it. And if someone complains about not being able to know what it is, they'll just fire you. Now, the scariest accusation though is that only real sales is from the Rolodex sale of $20 million, and any organic sales are fake and management doesn't want to acknowledge them as real. So it's not necessarily a knock on the product not being able to sold, but it's just a bad sales structure and leadership from this person's perspective, not wanting to believe they made sales for the sake of not compensating them. Honestly, it sounds like they're saying management knows the product's amazing and kind of sells itself because of the value, which can be toxic, right? But I understand the unacknowledgement comes from this deep culture of the product selling itself in the past, and maybe that worked before, but at scale you'll need a sales team. Honestly, this sounds like the opposite of an established company, because a lot of the places, especially the ones I've worked at before, sales are the top dogs demanding everything because they hold the power, bringing in the money, with sometimes engineering and product teams coming second to that, and they just have to deal with it and make the product or customize the product even though it may not be feasible or work as properly. So I don't know if this is just a culture shock to the sales individual or management truly is belittling sales, but honestly, I'm not surprised. It's a growing pain that they'll have to figure out, especially when pivoting the culture of an organization from product and engineering focus to at least a shared focus, including sales. But the second review is similar with that $20 million remark, so I don't know if that's the same person, but it is much scarier because it makes it sound like no one is selling anything because the product stinks and that competition is eating Palantir's lunch. So that is a very scary outlook to hear from someone inside as an employee. If that's what you truly believe, and because that is truly the case, you probably should find a new sales job. But maybe you might not fully understand the product and therefore cannot see the same value as the other salespeople. You probably need to do some more homework then in that case. Hopefully it's the latter in this case, but I really hope this is just their individual perspective and not a systematic commonality amongst all the salespeople. But let me know what you think. This is all anecdotal evidence, but still, these employees felt strongly enough to write such a detailed review, especially on the sales structure. Let me know your thoughts below, and if you're concerned as an investor with these Glassdoor reviews, and if you're interested in me covering the positive reviews. There are more in-depth ones on that front as well. Just let me know. Thanks for watching Palantir Research, and I'll see you in the next video.